Good evening and welcome to the November 12th, 2019 Valley View School District Board meeting. Tonight we're not going to do the pledge. We are going to have a national anthem performed by Bolingbrook High School seniors Jarrett Balbang and Kevin Cross. Everybody please stand. Gentlemen, thank you so much. Ms. Gilbo, could you please read the affirmation of the Board of Education mission statement?
Our mission is to empower all learners to be college, career, and life ready and to develop, grow, and achieve as productive citizens.
Thank you. Mr. Gerzafi, the agenda, please.
Yes, recommending approval of the agenda as presented this evening.
So moved.
All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Any nays? The ayes have it. Mr. Gerzafi, the treasurer's report, please.
Treasurer's Action Report 5.1 is the monthly reports as prepared by our treasurer, Joanne Borg. It includes the usual financial reports, balance sheet, summary of revenue expenditures, as well as the interim obligation payments and debt service payments for the month of October, $37,432,788.84 for your action this evening.
So moved. Second.
I have a motion. I have a second. Any discussions or questions? Seeing none, hearing none. A roll call vote, please.
Member Campbell?
Yes.
Member Baduris?
Yes.
Member Gilbo?
Yes.
Member Perro?
Yes.
Secretary Sikora?
Yes.
President Pro Tem Zach?
Yes.
Schedule of bills for the month of November represents 6 funds, Fund 1, 2, 4, 8, 11, and 16. Total bills payable for the month, $3,741,943.73 for your action as well.
So moved. Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion or questions? Seeing none, hearing none. A roll call vote, please.
Member Perro?
Yes.
Member Gilbo?
Yes.
Member Campbell? Yes. Member Baduris?
Yes.
Secretary Sikora?
Yes.
President Pro Tem Zach?
Yes.
Treasurer's information reports includes the summary of investments, property taxes received, state funding update, as well as all schools trust account activity for information and any questions you might have.
No. Okay. Next on the agenda is, what, 5.3? 6.1. Mr. Gerzafi.
Recommending approval of the consent agenda items as listed there. We've got the meeting minutes as well as the executive session minutes from the October 21st meeting. Gifts for B.J. Ward, John R. Tibbet, Jamie McGee, and Woodview Elementary, as well as the Ed Center. Student activity contract approval requests for Irene King, Pioneer Elementary, Humphrey Middle, 2 for Humphrey Middle School, one for BJ Ward, as well as the Romeoville High School boys basketball trip. And that's it. Recommending approval of all of those.
So moved.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion or questions? Seeing none, hearing none, roll call vote, please.
Member Gilbo,
Yes.
Member Peril,
Yes.
Member Badouris,
Yes.
Member Campbell,
Yes.
Secretary Sikora,
Yes.
President Pro Tem Zach.
Yes. Okay, student and staff recognition. We have 7.1, the Illinois High School Cross Country Championship Qualifiers. From Bolingbrook Assistant Principal, Mr. Rose.
Good evening. Good evening. My name is Rob Rose. I'm the Assistant Principal for Athletics and Student Activities at Bolingbrook High School. President Pro Tem Zach, members of the board, senior leadership, and community members. Once again, honored to be here tonight to recognize two of our student athletes at Bolingbrook High School as state qualifiers at the IHSA Cross Country State Finals this past Saturday, Ellie DeFarno and Tyler Cushing. I don't want to steal too much of Coach Sullivan's thunder, but I'm very proud of both Ellie and Tyler. Ellie had a PR at the state meet on Saturday, and Tyler Cushing placed second place. I think Tyler would probably say that had it not been for the record holder, the student who came in first place set a course record that was 47 years old at Detweiler Park in Peoria. So I think that's a pretty good person to be in front of Tyler as he came in second place. So very proud of Tyler after coming in 11th place last year. I know he dealt with some injuries and very proud that he overcame those and took second place. So without further ado, I will turn it over to Coach Sullivan, and he will talk a little bit about those two students.
Good evening. Valley View Board of Education, administrators from our district schools, and community members. Thank you for giving us the time at tonight's board meeting. Before I talk about our state qualifiers, I would like to take a moment to talk about the sport of cross country in our community. If you're not familiar with the sport at the high school level, it is a non-cut sport, and the race is a distance of 3 miles. At the middle school level, the distance is 2 miles. This year at Bolingbrook High School, we had a total of 21 girls on the girls' team and 20 boys on the boys' team. That is freshman through senior. The numbers are similar at Romeoville High School. When you compare our district with surrounding districts such as Naperville, Yorkville, Oswego, our numbers are extremely small. Those districts can average 60 to 125 runners on their teams. As a non-cut sport, we get individuals that come out to see what cross country is all about, those trying to get in shape or stay in shape, those looking to make new friends, and those that have competed and wish to get better. Believe me, we welcome all to our teams. As a coach, though, you're looking to build a team that can compete when it comes time for the state series. So the bigger the pool of athletes to build from, the better. Believe it or not, this sport can help pay for college. Over the past few years, I've had athletes continue on to college as runners, and this sport has helped pay their bill. Cross country is not a popular sport in our community. I'm asking for your partnership to help us change that. It's not going to happen overnight. It's going to take years. It starts at the elementary level, getting kids interested in running and having fun doing it. Kids have a lot of energy and like to run around. Why not show them that they can compete doing it? I've already had discussions with a couple of coaches, and we'll be reaching out to other coaches and administrators throughout the district, seeking your partnership to help us make cross country a fun and competitive sport at all levels. Now, speaking of fun and competitive, I would like to speak about our state qualifiers from Bolingbrook High School. There are 2 ways to make it to state. One way is as a team or as an individual. This year, from our sectional, there were 19 teams competing for 5 spots to advance to the state meet. The top 5 teams advanced to state, After you take out all of those runners from those teams, you move up the next 7 fastest individuals. Those 7 also advance to state as individuals. It is my pleasure to share with you that we had an individual from both the boys and the girls teams from Bolingbrook High School to represent us at the state meet. This is the first time in school history that we had both teams represented at the state meet. It's been 5 years since we've had a girl qualify for state. This year, our state qualifier is Ellie DeFarno. Ellie is a sophomore and is becoming a fierce competitor. Ellie won the Frost Soft race in St. Charles this season, and that is when we saw the change in her confidence and her mental strength. She went on to run faster and faster in each race since, and was the second top individual out of our 7 to advance from the sectional to state. At state, Ellie finished 166th place with a personal best time of 19:03. Before the race, I told her to enjoy the experience this year and that she'll be back for the next 2. The coaching staff at Bolingbrook High School is so proud of her and her accomplishments this year. Congratulations, Ellie. Okay, our next state qualifier might not be a stranger to most, as this is his 3rd year in a row being recognized here at the board. A few words about Tyler. As a coach in this sport or in any other sport, you may not get lucky enough to have an individual that might be that once-in-a-lifetime person you coach that is of the highest level, not only as a talented athlete, but as a human being. For the last few years, I'm proud to say that I have that experience with Tyler Cushing. I watched Tyler grow these past few years as an unbelievable athlete, and even more so as a human being. Sometimes athletes let their success, attention, change them, how they think, and they think they're superior to others. That's not the case with Tyler. He's the most polite, humble, down-to-earth person you will ever meet. My hat's off to his parents, Tammy and Michael Cushing. To recap 4 years, freshman year, his best time was 16:16. Sophomore year, he went on to state and ran 14:58. He came in 35th place at state. Junior year, he ran 14:35 at state and came in 10th place, not 11th. Last year, he was all everything. Conference, regional, sectional, state. He was also the Southwest Suburban Conference Cross Country of the Year, Runner of the Year. This year, his senior year, was the most challenging year coming back from pneumonia and other health issues. He managed to win a couple of races this season and got back to feeling really good again just at the right time. He went on to win the regional sectionals. Last weekend, Tyler finished his high school season with a personal best time of 14:16 and second place at the state championship. He finished second behind an individual that broke a 48-year-old record as the fastest time in Illinois High School State Series history. Tyler will be competing in Terre Haute, Indiana this coming Saturday at the Nike Midwest Regional and hopes to make it to Portland, Oregon for the national championship. Last year, he came in 7th place at Terre Haute, just missing a trip to Portland by one individual. Thank you, Tyler, for everything you've done at BHS, and we can't wait to see what you can do at the next level. Tyler Cushing. Thank you.
I just want to say, too, I've been to a lot of state finals, wrestling, basketball, football. The cross-country state final is one of the most exciting that there is that the IHSA has. It's literally 14 to 16 minutes of intense. I mean, there's thousands of people down there running across the course, so if you ever get a chance to go down there, it'd be a great experience for you.
Okay. Looks like we're skipping a 7.3, Rockin' the Cause organization donation to, nope, 7.2. 7.2, Illinois Council of Exceptional Children Award. R.C. Hill, Assistant Principal. Miss Duffy.
Good evening, board members, senior leadership, Valley View staff, students, and families. My name is Jen Duffy, and I'm assistant principal at RC Hill. And we are just so proud that RC Hill stands before you again this year to announce an Illinois Council for Exceptional Children Yes I Can Award recipient. Jeremiah Morris, a student in Lauren Winarski's multi-needs classroom, was recognized for his achievement in the area of technology. For those of you who may not be familiar, the Illinois Council for Exceptional Children advocates, celebrates, and helps to advance the success of children with exceptionalities. The Yes I Can Awards program honors and celebrates the achievement of children and youth ages 2 through 21 with exceptionalities. The primary purpose of this award is to encourage individuals to seek their highest potential. The secondary goal is to increase public awareness of the abilities, aspirations, and personal qualities of those with disabilities. Jeremiah, his family, and staff from RC Hill recently attended the Illinois CEC Ray Graham Luncheon, where he was officially recognized. In addition, we are thrilled to announce that Jeremiah's state nomination has earned him the national level award. He, his family, and his nominator, speech-language pathologist, Kristen Anderson, thank you, Kristen. Thank you, Kristen, have been invited to the National CEC Conference in Portland, Oregon in February. At that time, he will be recognized at the national level as a winner in the area of technology. We could not be more proud of you, Jeremiah, and want to thank the RC Hill family for your ability to support all learners. We are one district, one school, one family. And he is very, very anxious to say hello on the microphone. Are you ready? Say hello. Say hello.
Oui.
Say hello. Thank you.
Beer. Beer.
Thank you.
Who saw we?
Say thank you.
Day.
Say thank you.
Grandma. Who saw we? Okay. Okay. Wait till this on. I this on.
You're going to get an award now, okay? Good job. Good job on the microphone, buddy.
Okay, 7.3, Rockin' the Cause Organization, donations to BHS.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for having us here. My name is Dave Rice. I am a retired music teacher from RC Hill and Irene King School in Valley View. And I'm joined by Amy Rupsis and my wife, Donna Rice, and Dr. Kathy Brasino. And we're representing the organization called Rockin' the Cause. So 4 years, to give you a real brief history, 4 years ago, I asked my wife what she wanted for her birthday, which happens in October, and she said, I want to do something to help people. So we formed this organization called Rockin' the Cause, and we're musicians, so we got as many bands as we could get to do a free concert to raise money. The first year, which was 2016, we raised money for flood victims in Louisiana. The second year, we raised money for severely disabled children in DuPage County. Yeah, almost home, DuPage County. Then the third year, kind of all the bands and the people that were involved in this said, why don't we raise money for music in schools? I'm all about that because I know there were plenty of need for that. So we raised money for kids that cannot afford music lessons and kids that cannot afford instruments. And then last year, two very important people came to our event, which was held in Woodridge, which is the next town over. Mike Lawler, who is the deputy mayor of Bolingbrook, and Dave Tomsky, who is the head organizer for the Bolingbrook Performing Arts Center, came over and they said, we want to have this in Bolingbrook. And we're like, well, great, we're raising money for Valley View anyway. So we raised money in 2016 for Valley View, and we moved it to the Bolingbrook Performing Arts Center. So we had 10 bands that are well-known in the community to play out, including the Crying Shames and Chicago Experience, play. They donated their time. We had people donate food, and we were successful in raising money. So I would like to bring up Amy, and I would like to, Donna, I'm going to let you do this. Why don't you tell them how much the check is for? This is, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, this is for the CHIME program, which is specifically dedicated to students that cannot afford musical instruments or lessons on their own. So, Donna, why don't you, it's a little more than last year, Amy.
So last year, we raised money for both Woodridge and Valley View school districts. And Amy got a check for $4,000 last year, right? This year, we are proud to present a check to the Valley View School District for $6,650 for the CHIME program.
So just thank you guys so much. Just to speak about the CHIME program, it stands for Children Having Instruments for Music Education. And that program started about, 7 years ago, because we now have our first senior at Bolingbrook High School, who we started on an instrument. So it goes to help under-resourced kids who the dream of playing instruments like you heard the 2 trumpets earlier today, otherwise couldn't be possible. The cost of purchasing a retail trumpet, for example, is about $1,000. And if you're going to rent, it's about $50 a month until that's paid off. And for some families, that's really a lot of money. So with this donation, this is going to purchase a lot of instruments. This past year, we actually started 35 students in this program. So it grew from just a few people to many more who were able to give this dream to. So thank you to the Rices and the Rockin' Cause and for everybody who's supported this program.
Just a quick comment about the CHIME program. If anyone has old instruments laying around their house, like tucked away in the back corner of a closet that have been sitting there since your kids played them in high school or junior high or whatever, and you just don't really need them anymore, you can donate them to the CHIME group, and they will, part of what these funds are used for is to refurbish these older instruments to put them in the hands of students.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we have the next up is the liaison report. Board members' liaison report from my left. Any reports?
I do, but I don't know if Liz wants to talk about it. Do you want to talk about it?
Go ahead.
I'm unprepared, but I'm still going to talk.
Okay, I'll let you talk. Go ahead.
Yes, I'm going to talk because I left the awards in my car. at our fall meeting. They gave me the awards for my board member, President Pro Tem tonight, Victor Zach, and Sue Sally Gibo. So have achieved the process we go to become a master board member or master board member level 1, master board member 2, 3, and maintain. And so I just want to recognize them along with all the rest of the board members here and all the work that they do with this great big old $0 free salary that they give. So just everybody give a hand clap for all the school board members. We thank you for my t-shirts. They're going to learn the size. Everybody can know it now. I wear extra large t-shirts. Don't give me those other little t-shirts, okay? All right, that's a personal, he knows who I'm talking about. But so it is School Board Member Day on November 15th. So just give a round of applause to all my fellow school board members.
Thank you, Liz.
Okay, I have another announcement, and this is actually the one I was talking about, but that's okay, Liz. Liz and I went into Romeyville High School and to Bolingbrook High School, and we interviewed students that wanted to become student liaisons, school board student liaisons, and we have chosen those students, and soon you will be meeting them.
Okay, next we have the high school liaison. So we have the Bolingbrook and Romeoville. The students will come up and introduce themselves.
Hi, everyone. I'm Destiny Chandler. I'm a senior at Bolingbrook High School, and I love the Brook for its diversity. I've been on the varsity cheerleading team for 4 years and a captain for 3. I'm involved in the Black Student Union Empower, National Honor Society, National Technical Honor Society, and Health Occupation Students of America. And I can't wait to work with you guys this year.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jessica Gonzalez. I'm a junior at Bolingbrook High School. Currently, I'm involved in World Language Honor Society, the volunteer program at Amita Hospital, varsity soccer, as well as science club. My favorite part about high school definitely has to be the relationships and friendships we make along the way. So can't wait for this year.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Ariana Barajas, and I'm a senior at Bolingbrook High School. I'm involved in various activities such as Best Buddies, Science Club, badminton, and many more. This will be my second year as a liaison, and I'm extremely grateful for the opportunity, once again, to help my peers. With our diverse group this year, I envision great changes that will help better the BHS environment. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Kai Stefani. I'm a freshman at Bolingbrook High School. Some of my interests are creative writing / screenwriting, human rights activism, public speaking, even if my abilities aren't up to par, and the arts such as film production and drawing. Although I'm not in any clubs or after school activities at the moment, I'm interested in joining Best Buddies and GSA in the near future. Even if the start has been a little bit rocky, as of now, my favorite experience at Bolingbrook High School is all the friends I've made without high school. Yeah.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Daisy Gonzalez. I am a sophomore at Bolingbrook High School. I am a student athlete, so I'm a manager of the JV and varsity football team. This is also my second year of the basketball team, and I'm also a soccer player. I'm also in Marching Raiders. I'm a part of student council. My favorite part of Bolingbrook High School is the diversity and support the teachers offer, and I look forward to working with everyone and moving forward with everyone.
Good evening. My name is Eric Bebanov, and I am an 11th grader at Bolingbrook High School. I am involved in many community service-oriented clubs, such as Key Club and Interact Club. I also have an immense interest in science, leading to my involvement in Science Club and my devotion to initiating the Science National Honor Society. One thing I really like about Bolingbrook High School is the wide range of classes that are offered in the curriculum, especially AP classes, which give rise to knowledge in many different fields of study. Thank you.
Good evening, Honorable Board, staff members, community members, and fellow liaisons. My name is Tanu Oalabi, and I am currently in Best Buddies, Science Club, Model UN, Band, NHS, and the volunteer program at Northwestern Hospital. I am a junior at BHS. I look forward to enhancing the sense of community that I feel at BHS. I'm excited to work with you all on how to resolve issues such as the drug problem that has been enhanced due to the popularity of vapes. Thank you for this opportunity.
Hello, everyone. My name is Kaylin Lynch. I'm a junior. Although I'm not in a lot of clubs, I am in MUST, which is a great way for a diverse group to talk about their feelings and what is bothering them in today's world. I love our school. I love how diverse it is in people. I love meeting new people from all different types of backgrounds. The only thing I would change is the school dress code and how it affects certain groups of people. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Denilah Bissick. I am a sophomore at Romeoville High School. I am a part of the Varsity Palms team. I am president of Freshman Sophomore Student Council. I participate in Leadership Council, and this is my second year as a student board liaison.
Good evening, everyone. I am Stephanie Oseopoku. I'm a junior in Romeoville High School. I'm part of the National Honor Society, Leadership Club, and Right Club. I currently volunteer at the Bolingbrook Hospital, and I also volunteer at the child care in my church in Naperville. And I thank you for this opportunity for letting me be a student liaison.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Carol Baltasar. I'm a sophomore at Romeoville High School. I'm a student athlete. I play badminton and volleyball, and I'm also an AP student. I'm also part of the Student and Leadership Council at our school, and one thing I love about RHS is the accepting and empowering environment we have at our school. Thank you so much.
Good evening. My name is Jeremiah Teodoro. I am a sophomore at Romeoville High School. I am in Leadership Council and Student Council, and I am very active in the community, and I am a part of the volunteer program at Amida. And one thing, being a part of a liaison, or being a liaison, is spreading the good works and showing the good works of what our school has done and the students in it. Thank you.
Hi guys, I'm Tatun Delabu. I'm part of the varsity track team. I'm vice president of the senior council and part of DECO. As a whole, we, the student liaisons of RHS, would like to personally thank Ms. Campbell and Ms. Gilbo to be selecting us to be the bridge between the school board and RHS. During our interviews, we believe that Ms. Campbell and Ms. Gilbo got insight into a few issues here at RHS, and we hope to work collaboratively on these issues as the year progresses. Additionally, we would like to continue to bring the celebrations within the school that we love, our peers of whom we are proud of, and we always remind you of the intense pride we have at Romeoville High School. Thank you.
Hi, I'm McKinley Underwood. I'm a senior at Romeoville High School. I've been a part of the varsity volleyball team for 4 years, as well as the marching band. I've been part of leadership, NHS, Best Buddies, and several other clubs at RHS for the past 4 years. Lenny Criddle, the executive director of the Romeoville Area Chamber of Commerce, was scheduled to be with us tonight, but due to travel delays, he is unable to attend. We want to thank Lenny and the Romeoville Area Chamber Education Committee for bringing a new program to RHS this fall. The RACC committee created the Workforce Academy for all of the students in our building. We had over 300 students come during their motivation, their homeroom period to learn about proper work ethic, personal motivation, application process, internships, college and career connections, and the importance of always giving your personal best. Our students were able to make personal connections with members of our business community. Students who attended 5 of the 6 sessions earned
a certificate and will be able to attach that to their resume or bring it along to an interview, which will give them a valuable addition to their initial job search. Once again, thank you to the Romaville Chamber and all members of the Chamber Education Committee who help make the Workforce Academy happen for our students.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Elizabeth Gonzalez, and I'm a junior at Romaville High School. I've been in very diverse parts of the school. I've participated in the marching band and part of the MCJRTC program, as well as our leadership program, AP Council, and other clubs as such. And then this is also my second year returning for the student liaisons, and I'm looking forward to working with you guys again. And then to conclude tonight, we would like to thank you for your active participation on the School Board of Education. And as a token of our appreciation, we've given you guys t-shirts for that. And we hope you guys continue to do your good work.
Thank you.
I just like to make a comment now, Sally. You guys, come on, get your pictures. It ain't about me, it's about y'all. But come on anyway. I just want to take this time to say it was indeed a pleasure and always is to interview these young people. So excited to give us all their good feedback about what's happening in their schools and the recognition that they appreciate all their staff. So again, let's thank all of our school liaisons. All righty. You in trouble. You in trouble. All right, guys. You two guys, great. All right, appreciate it. All right, thank you, guys. All right. Good, Elizabeth.
Thank you, Liz. Thank you, Sally. Okay, audience participation. Is there anyone that would like to address the board? If so, please state your name and remember, due to time restraints, you have 5 minutes. Seeing none, hearing none. No, we're good. Superintendent action report, Ms. Kinder.
Yes, sir. We are seeking your approval on student due process cases A through B as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion or questions? Hearing none, seeing none, a roll call vote, please.
Member Campbell?
Yes.
Member Baduris?
Yes.
Member Perro?
Yes.
Member Gilbo?
Yes.
Secretary Sikora?
Yes.
President Pro Tem Zach?
Yes. Okay, then we have the action reports. Ms. Kinder?
Yes, 11.1, we are seeking your approval on information previously presented at the October 21st board meeting. This is the approval for Chinese 3 and Chinese 4 to be offered in continuation for our learners in the curriculum. If I have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion or questions? Seeing none, hearing none, a roll call vote, please.
Member Baduris? Member Campbell?
Yes.
Member Gilbo?
No.
Member Perro?
Yes.
Secretary Sikora?
Yes.
President Pro Tem Zach?
Yes.
Okay, 11.2, we are for Special Education Extended School Year Program, commonly known as ESY, for the 1920 school year. Information was presented at the October 21st board meeting and is outlined in this action report. This is the typical approval that we seek on an annual basis to run this program for a limited portion of our students whose IEP, Individualized Education Plan, designates this type of support.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any questions or discussions?
I do. Is this the summer school as well?
We have information for summer school further down the agenda. This is just for ESY.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Hearing none, seeing none, could we have a roll call vote?
Member Campbell?
Yes.
Member Gilbo?
Yes.
Member Perro?
Yes.
Member Baduris?
Yes.
Secretary Sikora?
Yes.
And President Pro Tem Zach?
Yes.
Okay, and 11.3 is the school calendar for the 2021 school year. This was actually brought back for information on September 27th. This was a draft calendar created by a committee of diverse representation. This committee was developed and recommended taking into account all of the state mandates, required contractual obligations, and this is the draft that was presented. It was displayed online for public comment. We did receive a small number of comments, but there were no significant trends identified in the comments that would warrant taking the calendar draft back to the committee. So at this time, we're seeking your approval, and of course, if there are any other state changes or guidance that would require a change to the calendar, we would be bringing it back to the board for further consideration. At this time, we're seeking your approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any questions or discussions?
I have a question. On the comment page, can you just explain how that was done?
So as in previous years, there's a link where individuals could submit comments. We did receive a small number of comments. So what you see is the tally of those responses that were collected. So Lisa Langer, administrative assistant in the superintendent's office, received those along with Mr. Blaney and went through those. So we had small number of parent responses, six staff member responses, and then what you see below that is a summary of the total of those 8 comments. And so there were some different preferences that were shared in those comments, and those are the major topics that were shared in terms of, related to when the preference was for breaks or institute days of that such.
So if there's an X that
means
counts
one
for
comment.
One person?
Mm-hmm.
So the X is at the top are the amount of people, and then the X's down on the bottom are the ones that are explained?
Correct. So if one individual made a comment and they had multiple ideas or preferences expressed, then there would be an X. And in the ones where you see, it's basically a tally. So you can just see a breakdown of the types of responses that were received. In the past, when we had received many comments that were, trending toward a similar response, we would then reconsider and make adjustments in the calendar. Because these 8 responses were kind of spread out and there was, a small number of preferences for individual ideas or preferences, we did not warrant that, bringing that back to the committee at this time.
Thank you.
Okay, can we have a roll, any other questions? Seeing none, hearing none, a roll call vote, please.
Member Gilbo?
Yes.
Member Perro?
Yes.
Member Badouris?
Yes.
Member Campbell?
Yes.
Secretary Sikora?
Yes.
President Pro Tem Zach?
Yes. Okay, action reports. Mr. Grzaffi.
Yes, 4 action reports this evening, beginning with our resolution to determine the 2019 tax levy. In accordance with the Truth in Taxation Act, the district must officially determine and adopt a tentative tax levy at least 20 days prior to final adoption of the levy. If the increase of the 2019 levy is in excess of 105% of the previous year's aggregate extension, with the exception of debt service, a public hearing must be held on said levy. The tax cap limitation will limit property tax increases for existing property owners to the Consumer Price Index, or 5%, whichever is less. In the case of the 2019 levy request, that increase will be capped at 1.9%, exclusive of any existing debt service. We'll be bringing the final adoption of the levy to you on the December 9th meeting. In the packet are several exhibits, EAV history. We've got 10 years of property growth history there, estimating our property values throughout the district at $2,677,000,000 for 2019. That's an increase estimated at 3.89%, which is the lowest it's been since 2015, but giving us a 5-year average of just under 5%. With the help of the Will County Assessor's Office as well as the 2 Township Assessor's Offices, I'm estimating exemptions being totaling $281 million, which reduces our overall levy, our overall EAV down to that $2,677,000. The comparison of the levy request to last year's, we're asking for 2.42% increase in the levy for operations and a 1.06% increase in debt service for an overall increase of 2.16%. That's our ask. That's not what we think we'll receive. By my estimates, the actual extension should be an increase of 1.92%, which is the lowest increase we've had in many, many, many years. Again, trying to keep our taxes in check to the best of our ability. We've got several calculation pages there. I won't go through those. It basically presents scenarios of the levy based on changes in property values. The two things we don't know as we formulate the property tax levy is what the actual EAV will be, or equalized assessed value, or the new growth, new additional properties coming online in the district. So again, we present scenarios of EAV less than, EAV greater than, or EAV as anticipated based on historical values. And that's what I generate, or base my 1.92% growth estimate at. Lastly, we've got a year-over-year change in CPI. Again, the CPI is what governs our ability to raise the levy. The 10-year average is 1.8%. The 5-year average is 1.5%. No secret, property taxes is our largest revenue source, and it is largely, again, restricted or governed by the CPIU, which is the trailing index for the prior 12 months. So CPI, in this case 2018, 1.9%, that's what limits our ability to raise revenue there. So at this time, I'm recommending that we approve the resolution included in the packet, 2005, to set the estimated 2019 tax levy.
So moved.
I have a motion, I have a second. Do we have any questions or discussions?
I do. I know Gary does a really nice job and works really hard, and your reports are the longest out of everybody's. I know you do a lot of work. But I do know I've lived in this district for a lot of years, over 50 years, and talked to a lot of people, and we really would like our taxes to be lower. I know Lockport, they lowered their taxes, and I know Shanahan, I think they might be getting a rebate. I know that we have debt service, which is going to raise our taxes from the get-go, and my question is, I also have a question. Is that separate from the taxes that you were just talking about? Is that in addition?
I did mention the debt service as a component. It is pretty well set by resolution that's been approved over the many, many years by various boards of education related to primarily construction, right, of the and improvements, capital improvements of the buildings throughout the many years. Those taxes, if you will, are kind of at the front of the line and would be extended prior, regardless of anything we do, any action the board takes related to the operational levy. Does that clarify your question?
Yeah, that does clarify my question. I'm just asking the board here that maybe there's something more that we can do to get our taxes down in the community. I think I speak for a lot of people, so thank you.
Any other questions? Seeing none, hearing none, could we have a roll call vote, please?
Member Perro?
Yes.
Member Badouris?
Yes.
Member Campbell?
Yes.
Member Gilbo?
I think I'd like to see them a little lower, so I'm going to say no.
Secretary Sikora?
Yes.
President Pro Tem Zach?
Yes.
Second action this evening, it relates to the past couple of months where we've been reviewing a debt restructuring plan. I brought that information to the board at our last meeting, taking advantage of lower interest rates to focus on restructuring primarily what's known as the 2011 A bonds series, as well as the 2005 series bonds. We used a financial advisor to go out to market, soliciting underwriting proposals from various bond agencies that we've used in the past. And I'm happy to report that we had an option presented to us for what's known as a direct placement with a large banking institution, J.P. Morgan Chase, versus what's more commonly known as a public offering, where multiple investors would be brought in. And happy to report that option of a direct placement will generate an additional $1.5 to $2 million over what we looked at even just at our last board meeting. Overall, the restructuring will save the district $9.94 million based on an interest rate of 2.67, reducing our interest of the multiple outstanding bonds average interest rate of 5.67, so almost 3 points lower, 300 basis points lower than what we're currently at. Overall savings, 13.3%. We're also addressing what was commonly known, at least to those on the Finance Committee, as the wall, where debt service would have increased from about $38 million to $52 million, which have really been a problem, obviously, for taxpayers. And so we knew it was out there. We knew it was looming. We discussed this, again, with the aid of our financial advisor to determine what's the best approach here, and we felt like knowing what interest rates are today versus in 2 years, we wanted to take advantage of that and lock in those savings. And so that, coupled with this direct placement option, really presents what I would determine certainly as a favorable restructuring and refinancing opportunity for us. And so with that, we are recommending that the board approve Resolution 2006, providing for the issue of not to exceed $86 million in general obligation refunding bonds of the district for the purpose of refunding certain outstanding bonds of the district. I have to read it this way. Providing for the levy of a direct annual tax sufficient to pay the principal and interest on said bonds, authorizing the execution of an escrow agreement and continuing covenants agreement in connection therewith, and authorizing the sale of said bonds to the purchase thereof.
So moved.
I have a motion, I have a second. Do you have any questions or some discussion?
I do.
Go ahead.
Before the meeting, I talked with Gary and I talked with John, and they helped me go through some of the questions that I had, and thank you guys very much for that. But one of the things that I'm still a little concerned with is a little bit of the wording in the contract. And I did talk with Gary about this, and you can explain again to everybody your explanation for that. But I would like to see it a little more consistent with who takes care of the business within the school board and within the district, signing and responsibilities of the monies. So on page 18 and 19 are the two main examples, where it says the president and the superintendent of the the president and the superintendent or the assistant superintendent of administrative services of the district are hereby authorized to proceed no later than the 12th day of May 2020 with any further authorization or direction from the board to sell bonds. So that's giving certain people the abilities to take care of business there. And then on the next page, on page 19, it says prior to the sale of any series of bonds, the president or the superintendent or business official of the district is hereby authorized to approve and execute or a commitment for the purchase of municipal bond insurance policy, and so on. So I guess I'm just saying, could we clean up the language a little bit and make it consistent all the way through? In some areas, it says that the secretary is involved. In some areas, the secretary is not involved as well. So maybe if before we pass this, we could say that we could do that. Or if we do pass, maybe we could say that we will do this as well.
When you raised the questions, I did place a call into our bond counsel, Chapman and Cutler, and asked about the questions you had raised. The response they gave me was that they oftentimes provide various financial officials of the district so that in case I'm not available or somebody's not around, they can get various signatures. The reason there isn't consistency between the president and secretary is certain documents related to the transaction need to be signed by both maybe the president and the secretary. Others will be executed just by the secretary. Others will be executed just by the president. If you've gone through a signing on any of these transactions, you're probably signing 75 times with just a mound of paper. And so there's a lot of I's dotted, T's crossed, a lot of transparency related to the SEC and so forth. And so while your question certainly on the surface seemed like, hey, there's an inconsistency here. He said it was done, he knew exactly what you were referring to and said it was done on purpose for that reason. And so we pay them a pretty good sum of money to make sure that those bond transcripts and bond documents are in order. And so I don't question the legal reasons for why those are crafted the way they are, because they're making sure that those bond transcripts stand up to any scrutiny.
Okay, thank you.
Do we have any other questions? Just before we vote, just want to explain it in layman's terms. It's a lot of people have a house, they have a house payment. This is similar. We have some debt payment to pay off some of the buildings that were built, and we're just refinancing and locking in a 2.67% rate, which is about 3% savings. Paying a little bit of money to refinance this earlier, but locking it in at this here type of interest rate is pretty much a historical low rate. So with that said, can we have a
I have one more question for Gary, if you don't mind,
Oh,
and then
go
we
ahead.
can vote. Gary, can you explain, it's on page 25, what they're talking about with the tax exempt bonds? It's in the last paragraph. Just can you explain that, how those work, tax exempt bonds?
This resolution is known as a parameters resolution. It covers a multitude of options so that we're not locked into any one percent, one deal, one structure of a deal, although we know our structure now with this direct placement. And so potentially we were exploring the idea of buying back some of our bonds and then reissuing them at a tax exempt basis. That particular clause won't apply for our deal because they will be taxable.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gary. Can we have a roll call vote, please?
Member Badouris?
Yes.
Member Campbell?
Yes.
Member Gilbo?
Yes.
Member Perro?
Yes.
Secretary Sikora?
Yes.
President Pro Tem Zach?
Yes.
Next is our employee insurance benefits renewal. We bring this to you annually. Alliant Mesero goes out to market for our third-party administration for health, dental, and specific stop-loss coverages. Happy to report that we've had a very good year in our health plan. Blue Cross would certainly care to remain as our TPA, or third-party administrator, for our self-funded health and dental plans. And they are providing us with a overall decrease of 72.8% to our fixed costs related to administration of the plan. Dental, there'll be no change, $268 per employee per month. Vision is currently under a 4-year contract, so just there listed. Stop loss. Specific stop loss is basically a coverage that provides for the district being responsible for the first $270,000 of any eligible individual claim. Anything beyond exceeding $270,000 would be the financial responsibility of the stop loss carrier. Mesero went out to market, approached 10 carriers. We had 2 competing options received. Sun Life, who was our incumbent carrier, quoted a rate reflecting a 6.2% decrease, again, reflecting the good year that we had. And Blue Cross quoted a rate reflecting a 15% decrease. This would cover 12 months beginning January 1st through December 31st. And so we are going to recommend that our stop loss coverage be moved to Blue Cross. Life, accidental death and dismemberment, and long-term disabilities are currently in a rate guarantee through December of 2020. And so if you couple all of that together, overall our fixed costs will decrease by an estimated 17.2% for the 2020 calendar year. This is calendar year January to December. So we are recommending approving the renewal of Blue Cross Blue Shield of Illinois as our third-party administrator for the health and dental plans, as well as placing our specific stop-loss coverage with Blue Cross Blue Shield of Illinois effective January 1st, 2020.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and we have a second. Do we have any questions or some discussion for this?
You know I always do.
I know. Go ahead, Sally.
What is the life insurance coverage that we offer to our employees?
I think we're 2 times salary, two times their salary.
Also, you said that this will be up in December of 2020, and I know a lot of times this is done in negotiation, but we've had some discussion in the past about short-term, long-term, and you had also mentioned dismemberment, and I think mostly that applies to the AFT members and to another group of people, but not to all members. I was wondering if somehow we could get that to all employees, if at all possible.
As you stated to begin, a lot of this is negotiated. There would be a cost associated with that. I could certainly explore that if that's something that the board felt that they wanted to provide at no cost to employees. I don't know the history there. That was certainly in place for many, many years as to why it wasn't, it's not provided to a certain class of employee. The life insurance actually is the one that's only provided to AFT. There's no life for.
I don't think we have the short-term, long-term either, because I think there's been some issues with that. Am I right, Judy, on that?
I believe we have short-term disability through TRS. I want to say through IMRF as well. I think that's generally who it goes through, if I'm not mistaken. There's not a separate carrier for that. It's done through the various pension services.
Okay, so maybe it's people that are not in the TRS or the IMRF?
So generally, all of our certified staff members are in TRS and are covered through TRS. Our classified personnel, such as our paraprofessionals, would be covered under IMRF. I'd have to check on maintenance and some of the other categories. Transportation it would be under AFSCME. So I would imagine, well, that's their union. I'd have to check to see what their pension coverage is.
Okay, so maybe if we could look into that, that would be great. Thank you.
Any other questions? Seeing none, hearing none, could we have a roll call vote, please?
Member Perro?
Yes.
Member Gilbo?
Yes.
Member Campbell?
Yes.
Member Badouris?
Yes.
Secretary Sikora?
Yes.
President Pro Tem Zach?
Yes.
Last action report is a recommendation to approve, renew the consulting services agreement extension with JAR Consulting. There are lobbyists, if you will, in Springfield, making sure our interests continue to be represented. They were very accessible, if you will, and provided information on a very timely basis as the evidence-based funding formula wound its way through the legislature. It was good to have those updates early to really kind of find out what's going on. There continues to be talk about property tax freeze and potentially pension pushback, two items that could have a severe detrimental impact to our finances. And so again, having a voice down in Springfield who is answerable to the board and to the community, we certainly feel is beneficial. They did help us too with a refunding back several years back, where we were able to extend the debt window from 20 to 25 years, allowing us to lower our debt payments. And so without their help and expertise, we would never have gotten that done. And so we are recommending the approval of the consulting services agreement with JR Consulting in Springfield for the 2020 calendar year in the amount of $3,000 per month.
We have a motion and we have a second. Discussions or questions? Go ahead.
Yeah, I do. I tried to look up JAR Consulting because I wanted to know a little bit more about them, and I really couldn't find very much except for one person and a house that he lives in. So maybe you guys can help me with that a little bit later to find out a little bit more about them or him or whatever group that is. With the consulting, I have a little bit of an issue with that because it tends to lean towards a little bit of politics with the legislative lobbying and all of that stuff, and I have a little bit of an issue with that with the school. Though some things are very informative, I guess I have a couple questions. First of all, do we know what avenue they use to inform us of the information that they find out?
Typically via email. President Quigley and myself will receive a report usually once a week when the legislature's in session, less frequently when they're not in session.
Okay, and then, and Gary, this is not personal or anything like that, but I'm going to go back to those taxes. And as a taxpayer, boy, tax freeze sounds nice. I know it's hard for us to do our job as a school district when we don't quite have the monies, as much money as we could. But then you also have to think that if you look at our numbers, when we talk about our school report card and we talk about all the kids in class, that we have over 60% free lunch and low-income people in this community. So when we spend a lot of money or we try to get a lot more tax dollars from the community, it hurts a lot of people. So again, I'm just going to ask that we consider what we're doing in that manner. And it's kind of hard because in one sense I'm saying, hey, let's give people this and it's going to cost money. And in the other sense I'm saying, hey, let's cut back. So, you know, I know there's a fine balance that you have to do and we all have to do, but I really want us to be conscious about the people in the community and a lot of people's money woes that they might have. Thank you.
Sure.
Sally, a lot of that is that with us refinancing the bonds, you know, trying to save, cutting the interest in half, that's what we're trying to do to save some money too. We're always going to have bills to pay. It's a tough call.
What I like to tell folks is if you don't understand the tax cap law, the way it works, for any dollar that you forego on your tax levy, you forego that not only that year, but every year thereafter, and that compounds over time. There was a few years ago, a different board where the Finance Committee was asking something very similar. And, you know, I said you need to understand the repercussions of what you're asking, where they wanted to basically guarantee that nobody's tax bill would go up. And the world of hurt that this district would be in had we gone forward with that plan, I can't even begin to describe. And I said, if you don't believe me, let me bring somebody in that can tell you what that means. And again, it's very problematic when you try to understand what the impact's going to be by reducing a levy. Coupled with that is obviously we bargain every couple, 3, 4 years with our various bargaining groups, and nobody wants to hear talk about a freeze or a property or a very minimal amount of increase. And teaching's hard. It's a very hard job, and I'd love to be able to give every one of our staff members a really nice increase year over year. We had to go back to the table twice to get an agreement with our AFT folks because they didn't like what we were offering the first time through. And so you recognize that there's that balance, right? And what I try to tell folks who complain about taxes, and again, it affects everybody in this state, no matter where you move, no matter which community. And you can't compare us to a neighboring district because, Lockport, for instance, is a dual district. So if you're looking at the high school, that's not comparable because we're a K-12 district. And at the end of the day, you can look at a tax rate, and if our tax rate is $10 more than a neighbor, but we're paying less, nobody really cares what the tax rate is. They just want to know what they're paying. And my soapbox example is Naperville 203. Naperville 203 has 2 high schools, 5 middle schools, and 12 elementaries. Where have we seen that before? Oh, wait, that's our makeup. And they don't have 60% free and reduced in Naperville 203. But they have twice the EAV. They have over $5 billion of EAV. So we have about $160,000 of EAV behind each kid. They have twice that. They generate $80 million more in property taxes annually. If we took the state money that we receive from the state, which is about $60 million between transportation and special ed, and forego that, we would still end up with about $20 million more per year. And what we couldn't do with $20 million to service what arguably is a much more needy population, right? I mean, we've got a diverse group of kids that need a lot more support than a homogeneous group, if you will, in Naperville 203. And to take a $300,000 house here and plop it in central Naperville, it's not going to be the same house. And so their tax rate might look lower and go, well, look, their tax rate's only $4, ours is $7. It's not the same. You're going to pay $600,000 for that same house in central Naperville. So again, I just caution about, while certainly I would love to reduce taxes and give everybody, a sizable increase, that balance is not always that easy. The one thing I tell folks when tax bills go out and I get calls primarily from retirees, people living on fixed income, is I get it. But the one thing you can take comfort in is at least your dollars are here local. They're staying in the community to help pay for teachers and for amenities for students. When you send the money to Springfield, you don't always know where it goes, right, and how it's spent. And so, again, it's not always a huge comfort, but at least, it's something to be said for having those dollars stay local.
Okay, I think that's the end of the discussion. Could we have a roll call vote, please?
Member Gilbo?
No.
Member Perro?
Yes.
Member Badouris? Yes. Member Campbell?
Yes.
Secretary Sikora?
Yes.
President Pro Tem Zach?
Yes. I just want to say thank you, Gary, and also Joanne, because between myself, Steve, and JT, we asked them a lot of questions, just as Sally has asked some questions here. We've probably covered a lot more, and they're very good at getting back to us. And as a taxpayer myself, I do appreciate the way you watch our money. You think it's your own money, and you try and stretch it as much as we can. And we've been looking to trying to refinance bonds for the last 2 to 3 years. And finally, there was a window that opened in order to get it done. So we are trying to save money and be frugal. Next on the agenda, action report, human resources, Dr. Nash.
Yes, and Member Gilbo, I did just check on transportation. They are covered under IMRF. So I will also seek from IMRF and TRS some information on the temporary and permanent disability process for your information.
Oops.
Okay. Action report 13.1 this evening is our consolidated action report. This evening we're seeking your approval on 28 items for certified personnel, 35 items for classified personnel, 1 item for classified administrative personnel, and 2 items for certified administrative personnel.
We have a motion, we have a second. We have some discussion or questions? Seeing none, hearing none. A roll call vote, please.
Member Campbell? Yes. Member Badouris?
Yes.
Member Perro?
Yes.
Member Gilbo?
Yes.
Secretary Sikora?
Yes.
President Pro Tem Zach?
Yes. Superintendent Information Report, Ms. Kinder, 14.1 through 14.3.
Yes, sir. Thank you. This is Information Report 14.1, which is an academic update and also information on the Illinois School Report Card. I'm going to jump ahead to an acknowledgement, a special acknowledgement that we wanted to make at, towards the end of the presentation, and then circle back around with some detail. We do have some staff members in the audience this evening, as well as principals and assistant principals of 3 schools that we do want to give special acknowledgement and recognition for. Of course, we have acknowledgement and recognition for all of our buildings, which you're going to see in the presentation this evening. But these 3 examples are schools that deserve special recognition. And so I'd like to invite Mr. Herder, Executive Director of 612, Dr. Jill Choukalis, Executive Director of Pre-K 5, up to help me acknowledge them. The first school that I'd like to invite up is Principal, it's AVM, and it's Principal Sarah DiDonato and Assistant Principal Bill Norman, along with a lot of representation from A. Vito Martinez. So let's give them a warm welcome.
Thank you so much. We wanted to recognize A. Vito Martinez Middle School, the staff, students, parents, Principal DiDonato, Assistant Principal Norman, on being named a exemplary school by the state of Illinois, which places them in the top 10% of all elementary and middle schools across a variety of different rating areas, from academic performance to the social emotional growth of students, things like that. So congratulations, and thank you so much for everything you do for all of our students.
You held strong through all the fun business of the district. You deserve to be acknowledged. Thank you all. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks for bumping that slide up. Oh, you're fantastic. Thank you.
I saw you sending me SOS signals out. Did you see here? These hardworking individuals represent just some of the staff that go above and beyond to support our students in the classroom, outside of the classroom, every day. The next school that we'd like to recognize for their second year receiving an exemplary designation, again, like Mr. Herder said, that is a school being recognized as being in the top 10% of schools, elementary and middle, across the entire state of Illinois. So Mr. Herder, if you'd like to come on up.
So again, we would like to recognize Jane Addams Middle School, the staff, students, and parents, Principal Polson, Assistant Principal Zadanek, and there were several other staff members who were here who unfortunately had to go home because as all of our staff do, have a very busy day back at school tomorrow. But thank you so much for all the work that you have done. For the second year in a row, being named in the top 10 is outstanding. Thank you.
We will personally be visiting the buildings to personally acknowledge and express our gratitude to every staff member in the building. It certainly takes the team, and whether you're in the classroom, teaching a core area, an elective, as part of the support staff, you are part of the success and the continued growth and achievement of our children. We're very proud. Thank you, AVM and Jane Addams. And the third school that we'd like to give special recognition to this evening is Jonas Salk Elementary School. Dr. Chikalis will make a few comments about that.
Good evening. Jonas Salk Elementary was identified as a National Tier 1 Distinguished School for Excellence in Academic Gains for Low-Income Students. There are only 2 schools in the state that receive this award. We attribute their success to their continuous improvement model, their teacher leaders with a shared vision, their focus on their greatest area of need, the way that they implement progress monitoring, how teachers are constantly engaging in coaching cycles, their all-in approach, also the way that they're constantly working to strengthen their professional learning communities at each grade level, and the way that they implement responsive learning environments.
Jonas Salk will be represented at the National ESEA Conference as well as the conference in Chicago, sharing some of their progress and what they're doing to work on the success and results that they're getting for our children at Jonas Salk. So we'll be very proud to have them representing Valley View School District in Atlanta and then also again in Chicago. So we are doing something very different, and we're very proud of the results that we're getting. Yes, you may take a photo. Okay, so we're going to circle back around, and if you are still with us, you can stay for some of the details. I'm going to try to go as quick as possible. And I know you've been hearing a lot about the business of the district, and I think it's just really important to impress upon the community and the audience here this evening that what you are going to see is one angle of looking at data through quantitative results, through numbers, and the measurable growth that we're getting for our learners in Valley View. And as you're listening to the conversations about tax rates and just the heavy burden that our community feels of the tax dollars, we look at it as a strong investment, because even with the resources that we have, or a shortage of resources, if you look at the state's evidence-based funding model, and the fact that we are operating at about 66% adequacy as the state would define, we are getting growth and achievement for our learners that is far outperforming that of this that we've seen across the state. So I'm very proud that our community and our Board of Education continues to make the investment to get results and positive outcomes for our kids, and that our staff, with all of the resources that we have, makes the most of the resources and is truly committed to doing great things for our kids, even when there are challenges. So we're very proud of that. Recently, the Illinois State Board of Education released the Illinois Report Card. This is available online to the public. This is illinoisreportcard.com. Here the public can access this website, and they can search any school district in the state of Illinois, any public school, and see a wide range of information as to how schools are performing and the progress they are making in the financial sense, in the academic sense, what their demographics look like, and a lot of different information. We're going to give you just a slice of that this evening, but you're welcome to access that. And if anyone has any questions, we're always happy to engage in conversations and understand more about telling the story of our district. Tonight, we're going to focus on academic data, and then over the course of the next few months, we'll provide some highlights of progress in the area of continuous improvement, financial data, social, emotional learning, workforce and culture and climate, and then as community and family partnership data as well. So a lot of information, all that tells the story of highlights, things that are celebrations that we are truly proud of, the hard effort and work of our staff, and areas of opportunity that we continue to look at and say, okay, how can we go about this? We're doing great things. How can we continue to grow even more for our kids in Valley View? So tonight we're going to look at academic data and show you some of the student growth on the Illinois Assessment of Readiness, as well as evidence of growth and achievement in English language arts and math, as well as our ESSA designations. That is the state's way of identifying how our schools are performing. And then we will follow up with areas of opportunity for continuous improvement. So these are snapshots taken directly from the Illinois Report Card. Again, these are available publicly. In this slide here, you'll see the light green bar is the district, and the dark green bar is the state. And what this story tells here is that we have a higher average growth percentile than the state in both subject areas, so both in ELA and in math. And this basically shows that the measures of how students are growing relative to students across the state that began with a similar starting point. So basically, in Valley View, if you had the same starting point as a peer across the state, you are growing more than your peers across the state. So this is an absolute celebration, something we are very proud of. We champion ourselves in believing in college, career, and life readiness for every learner in Valley View. All of our students, not just some groups of students. So what this busy graphic is showing you here is a demographic breakdown of the average growth percentile, so students in grades 4 through 8, how they're doing year over year when you compare them across the state to their peers. And what you see is our students are growing more when compared to their peers across the state in all subgroups. So that is something that we are extremely proud of in living our core value of equity, and ensuring that with the resources we have and the staff that we have who are working so hard, that we are serving every learner and they are growing and achieving. And so we are very proud because, again, this reflects the board and the community's investment in all of our kids. And it also reflects the hard work of all of our staff who work directly or indirectly with our learners. Another highlight that is shown on the state report card is that our 4-year graduation rate continues to rise while the state has remained flat. So if we look at the 4-year graduation rate, students beginning as freshmen who then are expected to graduate, from 2015 to 2019, our rate has risen by 8% while the state remained flat. So again, another highlight that we are proud of as we are moving students on to their post-secondary pathway, whether that be college or career, and that they're ready to be productive citizens for life. This is an aggregate look at our English language arts and mathematics performance in the sense of achievement. And as a whole, so looking at all those grades combined, we have higher achievement than the state in ELA and in math. And so this, again, is just an overview that you would find on the report card. You, of course, can drill down by grade level, by subject area, by demographic component. So again, just another overview of a highlight. Now, as we look at the big picture of how our students are growing and progressing, we always look for areas where we are strong, and we want to celebrate those successes because our staff are working very hard, from our directors of curriculum to support staff that we have to, of course, our teachers in the classroom to support staff at the building and our building leaders as well. These views that I'm going to show you here on the next 4 slides are not presented in this fashion on the report card, but in total, I'm going to show you 4 slides together, tell a story of progress where we are identifying areas of opportunity and areas of celebration. This slide, the green represents growth above the comparison to what the state is performing at. And the highlight here that I'd like to point out is that our middle school scores are outpacing the state in both subject areas. When we compare prior year in the area of ELA proficiency, as well as math proficiency, we see a change from 2018 to 2019. All the green areas are shows the comparison to prior year that's greater than, that's a positive improvement. So what we see here is we have a positive improvement year over year in ELA, and we have opportunities in both subject areas as you look at the various grade levels. Almost all of our cohorts of students are maintaining or improving in both subject areas. So what this looks at is students' growth from 3rd to 4th grade, 4th to 5th, etc. So what you can see here is by the time our students are in the upper grades of middle school, we are seeing a tremendous amount of growth that they're making year over year, and that far outpaces what we're seeing across the state. And so those areas of green represent where we are seeing that great growth as our students move from year to year. And finally, on this slide, almost all of our cohorts are maintaining or improving at better rates than the state in both subject areas. So while we've identified area of opportunity, in particular with our 3rd to 4th grade, what you can see is that we're maintaining or improving at better rates than the state in both subject areas, again, with a very distinguishable difference, a significant difference that we are seeing from 6th to 7th and 7th to 8th grade. Of course, our teams are looking very deeply at areas of opportunity in our core curriculum, as well as support in our elementary curriculum grades, and we'll be happy to comment on that or answer any questions. Did you want to offer any comment?
Okay. I just wanted to share that after an analysis of the data across both content areas at all 12 of our elementary schools, we have found lots of opportunities to celebrate our successes, and we've also recognized the areas where we can continue to grow and improve. We have started to put some things in place since the beginning of this school year. In previous years in English Language Arts, we had a focus on the Tier 2 and Tier 3 interventions, so small group and one-on-one interventions. This year we've put a heavy emphasis and focus on Tier 1, which is the universal core curriculum. Along with that implementation, there have been guidelines and phased professional development to teachers at all grade levels as a support as they move into the new curriculum. For math, we are continuing to strengthen a lot of the systems that we have been putting in place with progress monitoring, having teachers engage in coaching cycles, strengthening our professional learning communities, as well as some professional development for those teachers as well. We're looking a lot at elementary at having a consistent system. So we have an elementary curriculum director and now an assistant curriculum director. And through that new structure, we are looking at ways that we can take what the students are learning in one content area and apply it to the other. So with the strengthening of the English Language Arts core curriculum, we believe that that's going to help students when they approach word problems and when they're trying to read some of the math, that we feel like that's going to also help our math scores increase as well as our literacy scores. We're also using our coaching cycles to help our teachers if they engage in a coaching cycle in math, that the coaching cycle concludes with support in literacy, start in literacy, that it concludes with support in math as well. And the last thing that I wanted to mention is that through some articulation and collaboration with the 612 content directors, elementary and secondary are working together to have some universal supports in place in math and literacy, where students are responding to their reading and writing, or they are responding to math, or sharing how they are reasoning, or explaining their thinking around math problems, and we're using similar systems. So in math, we use a read, draw, write system. In ELA, in English Language Arts, we use a read, think, write system. And then as the students get older in 4, 5, and as they transition into secondary, they'll be using claim, evidence, reasoning. So it'll be a more streamlined system in regards to their reasoning across both content areas.
I have a question. How long have we been using Eureka at the elementary level?
We're calling back to presenting to the board about the Eureka program. So we started with grades 3 through 5 5 years ago. I want to say off the top of my head, I have to confirm. And then it's been
4 years ago, we solidified 3-5 with the scope and sequence. The following year, we introduced second grade, and then the following year, we introduced K1. So for different grade levels, it has been different layers of that implementation.
Have some real concerns about Eureka, which I will talk to you tomorrow about. Okay, and some concerns with seeing the math scores going down a little bit. So tomorrow I will bring up some of the things that concern me when I meet with you guys. But yeah, Eureka concerns me a little bit about how they're teaching. I looked at some of the problems, and as a math teacher in junior high, I don't know that I'd know how they were doing them and how to explain some of the ways that they're doing them. So I do have some real concerns.
So definitely those conversations are continuing, and you can see at middle school we've had a lot of time and focus on implementing the core curriculum and shifting the practices, and then also our buildings have really begun to own across the building, where we're seeing very strong results, those skills and practices that are reinforced and taught in the math classroom. So they're being owned across the building, across content areas. And so I believe that implementation of the curriculum at middle school, as well as the sharing of the practices and the skill reinforcement across the buildings, is in other areas where we're seeing success and are learning from that. That will definitely help us with that 612 articulation. So we're having the right conversations, and I'm very proud of the staff who are owning this data, because there are a lot of opportunities and celebrations that are present in the data, and our staff, our team levels at each building, as well as the grade levels, are looking at this and saying, okay, where are we doing really well? And we do have buildings and teams where there's a lot of great success that we're seeing, particularly with certain modules or certain grade levels. And then there's other areas where we're saying, okay, we need to make some adjustments. So our teachers are really solid in the mindset of continuous improvement. Our leaders are solid in that, and I'm very proud that we're recognizing that opportunity and that it is translating to success as students move through. But definitely, we're open to the conversation and hearing your thoughts, Member Sikora.
I'm impressed. The results are very good. We're doing much better in the state in a lot of places. And that goes to everybody who works here, all the staff. I mean, they're working their hearts out.
They sure are,
and kids, and they're seeing results. Yeah. And and I thank you guys for all the work that you do. I mean, that's a given.
Yeah, there is no doubt about that. And at middle school, it's kind of it's a blessing and a curse sometimes, but they have the ability to focus in one particular area, where our elementary teachers have had to make significant changes in all curricular areas on top of social, emotional, and learning environment. And we are still seeing very positive impact for our kids. And at the same time, we're saying, okay, how can we be even better? So the state does see a decline here from 3rd to 4th grade. We are not outside of that trend, and we are digging in, and I do believe we have the right individuals, the right conversations, and that we will tackle that and make that jump. Moving on to SAT, which is the assessment used by the state for our 11th graders, so at the high school level. This is just a general comparison that reflects proficiency rates set by the state. And what this shows you here is ELA proficiency year over year. And you see that there's higher achievement in both subject areas. And so this is 11th grade, both high schools, from 2018 SAT to 2019. So you see a 5% change, positive change in ELA, and a 4% positive change in math proficiency. Now, one complication that's noted here, or just maybe a complication in understanding, is that the state board sets their own proficiency rates. The College Board, who designed the assessment and administers and scores the assessment, has their own proficiency rates. So our current proficiency by College Board standards is 55% and 40%, and by the ISB standard is at what you see reflected on the screen at 35 and 33. What you can see here is that we are closing the gap to the state in both ELA and math. And so if you look at the graph on the bar graph on the right, you can see that Valley View grew at a higher rate than the state in both subject areas on SAT performance. Adam wanted to share a few comments, and looking at this complicated graph, he'll break it down real easily for you, and looking at how we compare to like districts.
Thank you. So just to talk about the high school SAT results in a little bit more context throughout the state, these new scatter plots are part of the IllinoisReportCard.com website. This scatter plot is sorting all unit district scores on the SAT 11th grade performance. This happens to be in English language arts. By low income percentage of students. So the Y up and down percentages are percentage of students who are proficient on the assessment in English language arts. The across bottom percentages is comparing that to the percentage of students that are low income in those schools. So the red triangle that is Valley View, both high schools combined in English language arts. The state average for all K-12 districts in terms of performance was about that 35-37% dotted line number. So if we cut just to that part of the graph, if you look at all districts that are 50% or more low income percentage students, Valley View is where that red triangle happens to be, which means that nearly all other districts who have a similar population of students are performing at lower levels, or more positively, Valley View is outperforming nearly every other district with a similar population of students. Which tells us two things. One is it confirms the narrative that we all believe, from the board down to staff, down to our parents and our students, that all of our students can achieve in our district, not just some students. And it's proof that our teachers are able to get results with students better than their peers in other school districts. The other thing it tells us is we have more work to do as well. So obviously we do believe every student can achieve, and like Assistant Superintendent Kinder mentioned, we are always looking for further areas to improve our score even higher, whether students are low income or they're not low income. We obviously are always looking to improve. But this, in the interim, in our journey to getting every single student to where we will get them, is a tremendous celebration and a reason to celebrate our staff at our high schools specifically. This is the same situation just for mathematics. And here it's an even more positive picture. You can see the Valley View schools are that red triangle. There's only a few dots in that same area on the scatter plot that actually have a higher performance on that left-hand percentage side, meaning that in mathematics and in English language arts, we are significantly outperforming other school districts who are serving students similar to those in our district.
Okay, so we have shared with the board previously about the Every Student Succeeds Act, and commonly known as ESSA. What's new this year is that student scores are represented in their home school, despite if they're being served in a program in a different building. Science proficiency is now included in the calculation, and students with individualized education plans, or IEPs, are now additionally classified as children with disabilities, which is, the acronym is CWD, because we needed another acronym. So the state uses 4 summative ratings, taking all of those factors into account. Exemplary, which you saw how we started off the presentation this evening. Schools performing in the top 10% of schools statewide with no underperforming subgroups. And then commendable, a school who has no underperforming student groups. Graduation rate has to be greater than 67%, and they can't, they're not in the top 10%. Underperforming is a designation given if there's one student subgroup who's not performing at the threshold that the state sets. So if they're below that, even one group, then the designation is given of underperforming based on the subgroup performance. This is all of those variables that go into the calculations of this. And so as you can see, in the K-8 band, ELA growth and math growth represents half of that pie. And then there's other variables, chronic absenteeism being a big hitter, big heavy hitter in the 20% area, as well as some additional variables. At the high school rate, right now graduation rate makes up the big chunk of that pie. And then chronic absenteeism represents 10%, and then other variables to include math and ELA proficiency, science, 9th grade on track, and climate survey. So we had 2 schools that had subgroups that were labeled as underperforming last year. Those schools have been removed from underperforming and have now attained commendable status, so we're very proud of that. We have 1 additional school identified as exemplary, so we now have 2. That was Jane Addams and A. Vito Martinez. And we do have 1 elementary school that is identified as underperforming based on data for 1 subgroup, and that is the subgroup of children with disabilities. So for that particular school, we're working on some additional targeted support plan for those students that is in addition to the improvement efforts that building is already heavily engaged in, and that is making great strides and great results for students in the all category and in all of the other subgroups. So there's great things going on there despite the 1 subgroup missing the threshold by, tenths of a point. We know that we have to continue to improve. So we're proud of the summative designations for all of our schools, and yet recognize there are additional opportunities to continue to improve and grow for all of our students, and with a focus on particular subgroups of students. So we got the pleasure of recognizing A. Vito Martinez and Jane Addams earlier this evening. And we also had the pleasure of recognizing Jonas Salk for their national recognition. Only 2 schools in the state of Illinois received this recognition. And so, again, just more evidence that we continue in our effort. Our staff is really owning this data. I would say that our buildings are in a place of improvement and ownership that includes more staff, educator leadership, and voice in the improvement effort than ever before. And they are owning this, celebrating their successes, and then continuing to push on for our kids. And our kids are rising to the occasion. From the original effort of just hiring, the expectations, our children are rising to meet the expectations, and our staff are coming along with them. Despite the challenges and stressors and the demands that are put on educators day in and day out, they are rising to the occasion, and our students are as well. And our support staff is right there behind them. So we have so much to be proud of as a district, and we are incredibly thankful for the support of the board, the support of our community, our parents, all of our building staff, and our district staff as well. It is definitely a team effort, those that work on the front lines with our kiddos, and then those who play a support role, from getting our kids to school, to feeding them healthy, nutritious meals, to ensuring that they have their supplies, to supporting educators and staff. It really is a group effort. So I just wanted to share some of those highlights this evening and ensure you that our staff own this, the positive celebrations, and also own the opportunities for improvement, and we are right there behind them. So thank you. We're happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Any questions from anybody? Thank you very much, Rachel. Okay. Brings us down to legal service report.
I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry.
I'm sorry.
14.2.
I'll be brief. We have 2 information reports. 14.2 is high school summer school program. For the sake of brevity, this is the standard program that is brought to you each year for information and approval. Details are outlined in the information report. This is the high school summer school program for Bolingbrook High School and Romeoville High School students. If you'd like to review this prior to next board meeting, I'm happy to answer any questions in the next few weeks and bring that back for approval in December. And then information.
Rachel, I just have one thing.
Sure.
On that, we're only going to a 1 3-week session instead of 2?
That is correct, and that has been based on student interest as well as need, and then the ability now to offer electronic recovery or advancement methods through online programming, and so that's been what is being proposed. Yes.
Do they do the electronic during the year?
Well, they are doing electronic during the year through our academic credit recovery program, but then there's also the option to do that in the summer for students needing particular courses. And then we have more flexible options to offer independent type studies. So say a student is just short a half a credit for graduation. They don't necessarily need to sit in a traditional classroom. They can recover that credit by working with a teacher and completing the online course, and then taking the final exam. So there's some flexibility in how the students can earn that credit, but we certainly want to meet those needs to ensure that students are recovering credit or advancing based on what their course plan is. So based on the needs that are identified, we can be flexible. It's just we've had some shifts from the traditional summer school model where students needed to be present and in the seat for the duration. So it is different in the fact that there would only be one session.
How about driver's ed? Are they jammed or they're not jammed?
So driver's ed, we always, we fill up the seats in driver's ed, and I will have to confirm the dates of this. Here we go. I'll have to confirm the dates for driver's ed, I apologize. But what we do there is we do start some of that work prior to the year ending. So students are doing like an after-school component for their in class, and then they're working on their behind-the-wheel hours. So there's a couple options that overlap that start in the year, and then there's also the summer components as well to offer the flexibility with the seats we have. But I will bring you the specific details on those dates. Okay, any other questions? Okay, and then 14.3 is presenting for your review the Board of Education meeting schedule for the 2021 school year, and that is outlined as noted. If you have any questions, you can reach out to Shelley Casey, or you may contact Dr. Mitchum or any member of senior administration.
Thank you. Again, legal services, no report. AFT.
Good evening. Like Superintendent Kinder already said, I'll try to be brief here as we're, the night has gone quickly. My name is Dan Bourne. I'm a teacher at Romeoville High School. I'm also the vice president of the Valley View Council Teachers Union here. My purpose tonight is to shine a light on an issue union leadership views as vitally important, and that's educator burnout. Now, nation and statewide data is clear when it comes to teacher exodus, teacher shortages, substitute teacher shortages, as well as young people not entering the profession. We see it as vital for us to take an active role in finding ways to combat burnout. So what are we doing to try to protect our members? A few things. One, we consistently, and I'm sure senior leadership could attest, we consistently and staunchly were kicking back at anything we perceive as being added to the plate of teachers without consideration of what else they already are dealing with. So if we're trying to put more on the plate, how does that already impact the work that we're already doing? We've researched a multitude of options to combat what we perceive as an overly obtrusive evaluation system in this district, and to give credit where credit's due, senior leadership has worked with us as well. I think they're seeing how we can make some really quick changes in order to alleviate some of the stress that everyone's feeling. We've been added to, or I've been put on the one of our